Addiction is a word that often scares us. We usually think of drugs, pornography, excessive gaming, or endless scrolling on social media. Things that drain our energy, damage our health, and destroy our relationships. As a doctor, I have seen countless lives affected by these harmful addictions, and I know how destructive they can be. But what if I told you that addiction does not always have to be negative? What if we could train the same human brain that falls into destructive habits to build positive ones that heal, strengthen, and uplift us? Today, we are going to explore the concept of positive addiction, how the mind's natural desire for repetition can be turned into a force for good. Positive addiction is a term that often surprises people because the word addiction is almost always associated with destruction, weakness, and suffering. When we hear it, our minds immediately go to drugs, alcohol, pornography, gambling, or excessive gaming, behaviors that slowly erode mental health, relationships, and physical vitality. But addiction, at its core, is not inherently negative. It is simply the brain's tendency to repeat behaviors that provide stimulation and reward. This means that if we redirect this powerful drive toward healthy, constructive activities, addiction can become a force for growth rather than destruction. Understanding this difference is the first step toward realizing the value of positive addiction. To define it clearly, positive addiction refers to a repeated engagement in activities that benefit the mind, body, or spirit. Unlike negative addictions, which bring short-term pleasure at the cost of long-term damage, positive addictions bring both immediate satisfaction and long-lasting improvement. For example, when someone is addicted to exercise, meditation, reading, writing, or prayer, their compulsion does not weaken them, but instead strengthens their mental health, builds discipline, and enhances their life overall. The critical distinction is that positive addictions add to life rather than subtract from it. From a medical and psychological perspective, the human brain does not always distinguish between positive and negative addictions at the chemical level. Both kinds release dopamine, endorphins, and other neurotransmitters that make us feel good. However, the long-term effects are dramatically different. Drugs, alcohol, or excessive screen time overstimulate the brain's reward pathways, creating imbalance, dependency, and decline. In contrast, positive addictions stimulate these same pathways in moderate, sustainable ways, reinforcing health instead of damaging it. For example, a person who develops a daily habit of running experiences the runner's high, a natural dopamine and endorphin release, but without the harmful consequences that come from substances. The body adapts by becoming stronger, the mind becomes clearer, and over time, the habit becomes a healthy form of addiction. Another important aspect of defining positive addiction is its relationship with control. Negative addictions quickly dominate life, robbing the individual of freedom. They interfere with responsibilities, relationships, and personal growth. Positive addictions, however, enhance control and give structure. They can be integrated into daily life without disrupting other responsibilities, and instead of narrowing one's world, they expand it. For example, someone addicted to journaling or creative writing may spend hours refining their thoughts, but the result is not destruction. Instead, it produces clarity, expression, and sometimes even new opportunities. Similarly, a person who becomes addicted to learning may read constantly, but the knowledge gained enriches their career, confidence, and perspective on life. In the medical field, we sometimes observe that the line between passion, habit, and addiction can blur. The difference lies in the outcome. If an activity consistently promotes health, stability, and growth, then even if it becomes repetitive or compulsive, it can be considered a positive addiction. This is why it is important to reshape society's perception of addiction. By labeling all addictions as negative, we overlook the possibility of training the mind to desire what is good. A child who becomes addicted to sports, for example, is protected from harmful substances, and learns discipline at the same time. A teenager who develops a strong addiction to reading gains knowledge, focus, and mental resilience. In both cases, the brain's natural craving for repetition is serving as a protective shield rather than a destructive trap. Positive addiction also carries a preventive value. Many people fall into destructive addictions because they have empty spaces in their lives: boredom, stress, loneliness, or lack of purpose. If those spaces are filled early with positive addictions, the likelihood of destructive habits taking root decreases significantly. A person who is already committed to daily prayer or meditation finds strength when stress arises. A young adult who is passionate about fitness and training finds their social and personal time revolving around health rather than destructive distractions. In this way, positive addiction can act as a vaccine against harmful patterns by occupying the brain and body with healthier alternatives. From a broader perspective, positive addiction also enhances the sense of identity. Harmful addictions strip people of their self-respect, leaving them feeling trapped and powerless. Positive addictions, however, build identity around strength and consistency. Someone addicted to helping others, for instance, finds their self-worth in acts of kindness. Another who is addicted to music finds identity in creativity and expression. This not only improves personal well-being, but also radiates outward, influencing families, communities, and even future generations. In conclusion, understanding the definition of positive addiction requires us to change our perception of the word addiction. It is not always a curse. It can be a gift if directed toward the right behaviors. Positive addiction means training the brain to repeatedly crave activities that bring health, discipline, and purpose. Unlike destructive addictions that strip away freedom, positive addictions build strength and structure. They protect against stress, provide identity, and even prevent harmful habits from taking root. The same brain chemistry that can enslave us to drugs or screens can be turned into a tool for growth and healing. Addiction is not the enemy, direction is. By choosing positive addictions, we choose a life of strength, health, and fulfillment. The relationship between positive addiction and mental health is both profound and transformative, because the human brain is constantly seeking balance, stimulation, and relief from stress. In modern life, many people experience high levels of anxiety, depression, and mental fatigue due to pressures from work, studies, relationships, and technology. When these pressures become overwhelming, people often look for an escape, and unfortunately many turn toward negative addictions like drugs, pornography, or endless scrolling on social media. These may provide temporary relief but ultimately worsen mental health by creating dependency, guilt, and a lack of control. Positive addiction, on the other hand, offers the same relief while strengthening the mind rather than weakening it. It creates a healthy cycle where the brain is rewarded not with destruction, but with growth, peace, and clarity. One of the most important ways positive addiction benefits mental health is through the regulation of stress. When a person engages in activities such as exercise, meditation, prayer, reading, or journaling, the brain releases neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins that create a sense of calm and well-being. This is the same brain chemistry that harmful addictions exploit, but here the outcome is positive. For example, someone addicted to daily meditation finds relief from stress naturally. Instead of escaping reality, they learn to manage it with clarity and calmness. Over time, this addiction becomes a shield against anxiety, reducing the risk of panic attacks and emotional breakdowns. Depression is another area where positive addiction plays a significant role. Many people who fall into depression lose motivation and energy, which makes them vulnerable to destructive habits. Positive addictions counter this by giving the brain consistent sources of motivation. A person who becomes addicted to running, for instance, experiences the runner's high, a natural antidepressant effect that lifts mood and boosts self-esteem. Similarly, A person who develops a love for reading or learning finds daily purpose and stimulation that keeps their mind engaged and prevents feelings of emptiness. Unlike negative addictions that deepen despair, positive addictions help break the cycle of hopelessness by feeding the mind with purpose and reward. Focus and concentration are also greatly improved through positive addiction. Harmful addictions often scatter the brain's attention, making it restless and unable to concentrate. Positive addictions, however, train the brain to enjoy deep focus. Someone addicted to creative writing spends hours immersed in thought and expression. A person addicted to chess sharpens their problem-solving skills through practice. A child who is positively addicted to reading develops patience and concentration, skills that extend to studies and other aspects of life. These addictions improve mental discipline, making the brain less vulnerable to distraction and more capable of sustained effort. Positive addiction also strengthens emotional resilience. Life inevitably